Hey guys, it's me, Nostalgia Critic, and you know I had to do it some. Oh my god. Anyways, for real this time, to those of you who don't know me, my name is Gregory Best, and I used to have a YouTube channel in which I criticized music. And it was pretty awful. However, I wanted to kind of change things up and instead bring about a more positive light on the music that I love instead of really just criticizing anything that comes my way. So first off, I just wanted to make a video discussing my record collection. My record collection is unfortunately not that big as of now, as I only started to collect records by the time Christmas came around when I finally got a record player. However, I have gotten quite a few since then, mainly through deals at record stores and Christmas gifts. So I just kind of wanted to go through them gauntlet style and just kind of talk about each one of them for a second, as they all do hold a bit of a special place in my heart. So anyways, without further ado, let's go with the first one. Slide by George Clanton is undoubtedly one of my favorite records of 2018, and an underrated one at that. Every facet of this album is immaculately produced, mixed, and mastered with some of the stickiest and most memorable melodies of 2018, with songs like Make It Forever and Dumb. This record really just shows exactly what I love about the chill wave genre, the hypnagogic pop genre, and even the vaporwave aesthetic of modern internet culture. And I knew from the first time that I heard it that I would have to pick it up on vinyl, and eventually I did after I got my record player. I ordered it off Bandcamp, and it came just fantastically produced. As you can see on the disc here, it has this amazing black and blue spiral design to it that I just love, and when it's playing on the actual player itself, it looks fantastic, and it honestly just elevates the music itself with a lot of the art direction. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites of 2018. If you haven't checked it out yet, I strongly recommend you do so, and if you want to, I'd recommend getting it on vinyl too. It sounds amazing on vinyl as well. The next record that I have in my collection is an album by the name of Skeleton Tree by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Now, this album was massively critically acclaimed when it first came out back in 2016 for good reasons. This is, I believe, the band's 13th studio album. I might be wrong. They've had quite the eclectic and expansive discography prior to this, and while Skeleton Tree isn't my favorite Nick Cave album, that would probably be Abattoir Blues, The Lyre Orpheus, or maybe Murder Ballads for its just sickeningly disgusting and sometimes hilarious lyricism. It's a very disturbing record, but both those are amazing as well. But Skeleton Tree itself is such an amazing record to be put out so late in his career, and honestly, it's just very raw. Now, unfortunately, you can't talk about Skeleton Tree without discussing what exactly happened to Nick Cave to bring about this record. His son unfortunately died back in 2015 during the process of the making of this album, and it was a terrible accident for him and his family, so he decided to go back to the studio and rewrite a few of the songs and re-record them, and eventually he had the final product of which he left unmixed and unmastered, creating this very broken sound in a sense. And you can really see that throughout the progression of the project. It's really an album that comes to terms with death, and unfortunately, as you can see from the beginning, how it starts off very ominous and broken, as I said earlier, to the end with the title track, how it almost becomes very melancholic, yet finding peace at the same time. Through and through, it's just a beautiful album, and if you haven't heard it yet, please just trust the critical acclaim. It's a fantastic record. Next we have Dark Comedy by Open Mike Eagle, which is by far one of my favorite rap albums of all time. Open Mike Eagle is one of my favorite artists of all time, probably top 10 in my opinion. He has so many fantastic records, from his earlier material like Rappers Will Die of Natural Causes, all the way up to even his latest material like his last full-length album, which was Break Body Kill Still Daydream, one of the best albums of 2017 and just utterly heartbreaking. However, my personal favorite project of his would have to be Dark Comedy, which is this very sarcastic, very surrealistic record with lots of flourishes of glitch and noise. But that's not even mentioning the fantastic lyricism that's found throughout this project. Not only does Open Mike Eagle have a very esoteric style of writing, he also tends to write very intelligently in regards to subject matters like race and mental health, and just doesn't stop consistently delivering this entire landscape of beautiful lyricism. Another thing that I loved about this vinyl as well was pretty much just the design of the vinyl itself. I was initially thinking after I ordered it on Amazon that I was just going to be getting the standard black vinyl like you would get with most vinyls. However, the design I got was this kind of see-through-ish design with this splatter of yellow and kind of tealish colors all throughout it, and it just looks fantastic, as you can see here. But yeah, if you haven't listened to it, I would recommend it. Now if you get the vinyl, I do have to say it's not as good as it is when you listen to it in headphones, solely because it doesn't really capture the subtlety of the production, especially on one of my favorite tracks here, which is Big Pretty Bridges. It just seems a little bit too overblown when it's playing through the record player, but that just might be my player because it's terrible. But this album, just amazing if you haven't heard it. Now, I won't spend too much time talking about Merriweather Pavillion, as it seems like pretty much everybody's already gotten their 2 cents in the discussion, but I truly still enjoy this album, regardless of its status amidst Amateur Collective fans. And although it's not my favorite of theirs, I would say Strawberry Jam or Feels or even Here Comes the Indian are better than this. I still have to say that I enjoy a lot of the songs found on here, like My Girls or Brother Sword for the most obvious example. But there's still a lot of experimental flourishes to be found here, a lot of psychedelic textures in production that I do thoroughly enjoy. But the vinyl itself is just on center black vinyl, which is unfortunate. However, the design of the packaging is still fantastic. Of course, you got the iconic cover, but there's also the gatefold, which has this very surrealistic imagery that I thoroughly love. So yeah, it's still a great album, a bit beaten to death, but I still love it. I don't mean it lightly when I say that Dragging a Dead Deer Up a Hill by Grouper is a classic example of a flawless album, but it honestly is. I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that ambient music finds a lot of meaning within the emptiness of its composition, mainly the silence that's found within the songs, but this is one of those albums where I can thoroughly say that the silence impacts the rest of the record. Now, there's a myriad of genres to be found here, from neo-psychedelia to dream pop to the aforementioned ambient sounds to here to even the folk stylings of Grouper herself, but her vocals seamlessly blend along with this melting pot of genres to be found here to create something nearly ethereal that I still haven't gotten over. Anytime I put this on, it's like being slowly crushed by winter, I guess you could say. But truly, this is a beautiful record, as well as most of her discography if you haven't listened to it. I'm not going to mince words when I say that Carrie and Lowell is my favorite album of all time, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it today because, well, I want to put up my own analysis of the record one day in video format. So I'll just say that it is beautifully composed with a fantastic well of influences ranging from Elliott Smith all the way to Philip Glass, and completely hits every single artistic mark of which it was trying to go for in creating an intimate and very passionate project. So yeah, my favorite album of all time. And just wanted to say shout out to my mom for getting this for me for Christmas, because, you know, I just love it. And now we have Midnight Marauders, one of the best rap albums of the 90s, and one of A Tribe Called Quest's best album. Now, I'm going to take the controversial opinion and say that I prefer We Got It From Here, Thank You For Your Service, but it was just such a fantastic comeback record that I can't deny that. I do love the album a bit more, and it might also be nostalgia for me because that's when I was growing up in. But Midnight Marauders is probably my second favorite Tribe Called Quest album, solely because of how amazing it sounds constantly. It doesn't necessarily sound like an album you would hear would be produced in the 90s, but it's just got such a timeless style to it that I can't get over how well it sounds. And Q-Tip at the time was kind of dealing more with a lot of like different vocal samples here, so there's like a lot of different, you know, vocal lines going back and forth. Like you'll hear it constantly throughout the album. Busta Rhymes saying "Oh my God," but you know it still works to this day. And although A Tribe Called Quest aren't my favorite rap group from the 90s, that would probably be Diggable Planets. I still have to say they were fantastic for the time and even up to this day. And it's unfortunate that We Got It From Here, Thank You For Your Service is their last album, but honestly, without Five Dog, I feel like this is the best note that they could have possibly ended off on. So yeah, iconic album cover, and it sounds amazing on vinyl, so I can't complain. And here we have another classic album, of course, being Daft Punk's Discovery, their seminal album. There's just so many fun and amazing songs on here. I'm not just talking about One More Time or Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. There's also songs like Digital Love or Veritas Quo on here that just really get stuck in my head all the time. And I can't complain because, well, they're just that fun. I mean, it's not necessarily a perfect soundtrack for a party, but I don't really go to a party without playing One More Time, just saying. But there's just so much to this record that I still love to this day. And even though it might be hinged solely on nostalgia, I can't deny that I still love it. And also, on top of that, we need a new Daft Punk record soon. I mean, come on. We've gone, I don't know, how long now? 6 years since Random Access Memories? We need the bops. We need the bops. But yeah, with that being said, we finally come to our last album today. Thoroughly fantastic album, of course, much like all these. It's Give Up by the Postal Service, spearheaded by Ben Gerbert of Death Cab for Cutie fame. You can definitely see his influence all across here, from its quaint yet full melodies and instrumentation, as well as a lot of the quirky oddball style lyricism that kind of became his calling card, especially in the early 2000s, and influenced a lot of indie rock at that time, as well as indie pop and indie tronica, of course. However, I do have to say that this isn't my favorite indie tronica album. That would probably be Absence by Paper Route, which is the album from which the song that's playing right now is from. Truly a fantastic album. If you haven't listened to that project, I would recommend it as well, so I'll link that one down in the description. But yeah, this album is very, very good for its time. It hasn't aged all that well. The production is not as full as I wish it would be. But, I used to love this album back in high school, and I still do to this day. I still put it on regularly. But yeah, honestly, I wish we got more, Postal Service albums than we did Death Cab Cutie Fruit albums, but that's a discussion for a different day. So yeah, and I love this pressing too. There's a lot of detail that was put into the design and packaging of this record. Well, not necessarily as much as in the CD version, which I also own, but it still captures the very icy feel of this album, the icy, distant feel that's also at the same time very warm and caring as well. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. If you haven't listened to it as well, really just listen to any of these records. In fact, I'll link them down in the description if you want to hear any of them. So yeah, thank you so much for listening today, and hope you have a great day.